Today I'll be discussing the most anterior part of the cranial cavity, the floor of the cranial cavity. First of all, the cranial cavity is a space that is within the skull that holds the brain. The floor of the cranial cavity is made up of these cranial fossas. So these cranial fossas are basically what makes the floor of this cranial cavity. There are three of them: the anterior, the middle, and the posterior. And the anterior cranial fossa is what we'll be discussing here in this video. Is the house of the frontal lobe of the brain, and below the anterior cranial fossa comes the orbital cavities that would hold the eye, and also the nasal cavity and the oral cavity just below the nasal cavity. Now, to start with, I would like to mention the borders of the anterior cranial fossa. The borders of the anterior cranial fossa are first anterolateral and posterolateral and posteromedial. The anterolateral borders of the cranial, the anterior cranial fossa. Here, anteriorly, we have the inner surface of the frontal bone. Laterally, right here, also inner surface of the frontal bone. Then we go to this border right here that forms the posterior. So the posterolaterals are the lesser wings of the sphenoid bone. And then we have the posteromedial. Here we have to focus on the prechiasmatic sulcus that extends from one optic canal to the other. Optic canals are